I go through the whole journey, buying all the courses, stuff like that,
Yeah.
selling it. I wind up selling this was a while ago, like before it was a 6 week, 3K course on basically how to prospect. I had an AI software that I
Yeah.
coded that used to do auto DM, and I got really good at copy, right?
Okay.
So I started getting paid at one point like $2,000 a call to look over copy, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, look, and by the way, like people, it wasn't like I was like taking the money and everything. They all did well, right? They were all doing very
Yes.
well.
Oh,
That was
yes.
kind of right, in the copy world, right? And
Yes.
so I was selling windows and bartending, and I started making money on the side with this little workshop, right? And I was
Yeah.
learning from the thing. I bought my 4 unit, and then I blew up on an app called Clubhouse. Do you remember Clubhouse?
Oh, that was a huge opportunity. Yep.
Yeah, so I blew up on that
Yep.
app because I was just giving copy advice. I was really just sharing from my heart, sharing my story, just authentically, right? So
Yep.
companies started flying me out, put me up in hotels, kind of the whole deal, because they wanted me to basically consult their business or like I think they wanted my knowledge and my connections, right? I don't even know. There
Yes.
was one guy, but I want
Yep.
to remember, right? You get it. So I
Yeah.
remember,
Doors just open and you're
yeah,
like, what's
I
happening?
You're amazing. I've done a lot of interviews, just, a little feedback. You're a great interviewer, too.
Never lose that magic, Jeff.
oh my goodness, Las Vegas, August 30 to 15. It's the hottest event of the year. In all seriousness, get your link to the August 13th through the 15th. Robert Herjavec, Damon John, Mark Wahlberg, and Marinder Gamboge puts on an X-Pro domination coverage. It's doers, not dreamers. The event is so hot with all listed speakers. Go to the link below in the bio. It's a sponsor right now. I have my affiliate link for it. Go check it out. I'll be in Vegas. You're going to be able to meet me. So many people are like, Jeff, I want to meet you. And if you're not meeting me at Ziva here in Miami, you're meeting me in Las Vegas at Steve's Palace. Can't wait for it. Click the link below. Shout out to everybody. We launched our VA company off in Cabo and packed out the Cabo event with all my Rolodex people. I don't know who's going to bring, but as soon as people find out, they're like, hey, Jeff, I'll come. I want to drop some names of some people I know who are going to honor it. Just, they like me. They want to see me, fix everything, my teeth, my hernia, and everything. So they buy the ticket from this link below, or they want to be a part of it. And anybody who buys the link and ticket, send a screenshot to me on Jeff the Entrepreneur. Do a DM or text it to the number below. And maybe we'll do a little meetup, special meetup for that. I'll try and bring the most people in my ecosystem to the Expo Domination Conference, which is what I did in Cabo. Me and Brad Lee kind of had the most there. We had Ed Milet there last year. Now, and we have what I love about it, we have a whole women, if there's any ladies watching this, we have a whole women's event the next day, the last day after. And Maritza Garcia, one of the people that's paid for my licensing, paid for coaching, paid everything. She's a huge part of this. I have huge hopes for it in Vegas. I love Vegas. My brother just got back from Vegas. So I would love to see you guys in Vegas. Maybe my brother will come out too. All right. We'll see you guys in Vegas, August 13th through 15th. Ami, check out the link below. All right, it's Jeff J here to make your day, and I'm so excited to have the beautiful Rachel Lynn Pedersen on my podcast. I actually, if you guys know any women in the personal branding marketing space, please reach out to me because I always try my biggest thing I get is Jeff, you don't put enough women at your events. I do little workshops here but we have here. For people who don't know who you are, why don't you give a quick 30,
Yeah.
60 seconds about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. I'm Rachel Pedersen. I am a social media strategist and content expert. Basically, I have two businesses. I educate people, whether it's small businesses, solopreneurs, or freelancers, on how to do marketing and content and honestly just crush it on their own, all the way to working with many of the brands that people know and love from across the world in super high touch premium done for you services that are basically, they're really intensive. People say they feel like therapy sometimes. I ask a lot of questions about, so tell me about your childhood before we go into content. So it's a beautiful process. I do social media strategy. I'm based in Minnesota. I have 3 kids, which is kind of crazy. I've been a mom for a very long time. And I love books. I love software. I love all kinds of things house. I think the biggest thing I want to share is even though we've done 8 figures in our business, I live a very normal life. We don't have hired help around our house, etc. Those are the types of decisions that we've made, and it kind of leads to some really cool business interactions and situations.
Yeah, good.
So
I want to hear. So, can I? That's why you're on this podcast. This
yeah,
is what I love about you. No matter what it is, no matter how much success you are, you're very much yourself, right?
thank
And
you.
that you have to be. And it's funny, me being in the personal branding marketing space, right? A lot of it is like therapy questions,
Yes,
realizing what makes people them,
yes.
right? So let's talk about your childhood, though. Kind of what broke it up. Like, were you always like an entrepreneur? Did you always start doing this stuff, or like, how did this all come to be?
Ooh, so when I was young, everything I did, I always had an idea to turn it into something to make money. Now, I grew up in poverty, well below the poverty line, and so it was that way until I was quite a bit older. I want to say until I was about maybe 13 to 16 is when it started kind of phasing, or my family phased into more money. So I was always like, money's the issue. I'll learn how to make money. And so I remember, yeah, it was, lemonade stands or selling anything I could, ices or candy. But then when I got my hands on like Sculpey clay, I was making little figurines and I was imagining, how do I scale this and sell this to everyone at our church? And so I was imagining like those types of situations. And then when I was about 13 years old, somebody in my house bought a few copies of books that you may have heard of. For example, Rich Dad Poor Dad, we all know it.
I remember that.
I think it was Mastering the Money Game by Tony Robbins. And I found those on my shelves and I was just like, I'm bored. I'm at home a lot. I'm going to read these books. And while it didn't completely shift my paradigm, it showed me at a young age that there was something else possible. So that was kind of a little bit of that journey. Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
long ago was that? When were you that when you got your hands on the books?
So I'm 37. That was 24 years ago.
Okay, wow. So yeah,
Yeah.
a lot earlier than me. It's funny, those books were exist. You know what makes me so mad? Those books existed. So my mom, I was homeschooled, right? So I was homeschooled.
Wait, hold on. I was homeschooled until fifth grade.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going, keep going.
So I was homeschooled. My mom
Yeah.
was the one always reading books and encouraging everything in there. I actually
Yeah.
got taken in by a pastor's family. The girl I thought I was going to marry named Angel. I won't say her last name, but that girl, she wound up, it was like the Notebook. She wound up marrying the Navy guy and I got all crushed. But I wound up taking in, and by a Martin family, two other homeschool families with a bunch of kids and the whole deal, right? And
Yeah.
we started at a Pentecostal church. We then went to a Baptist church when my mom and dad bought their dream house. I was homeschooled all the way because my mom didn't like the education system. And it's
Yeah.
so funny. Unfortunately, I lost my mom to breast cancer. She passed away. And when that happened with no life insurance, went through all the whole foreclosure, all that. So I was always doing a lemonade stand, making money,
Yep.
just very
Yep.
much like it. We
What
weren't
needs
like
to be done?
the
Yeah.
emperor, but what needs to be done, right? And that's
Yes.
but I've always had this entrepreneurial niche to me, right? Like always God's given us a gift to like create, right? In a way. So
Yep.
I've always done that. And it was just like, yeah, money was always the issue at my house too, right? Like I
Yes.
totally relate to that.
I'm
And
curious, can I ask, I'm
yeah.
curious if you became very self-sufficient. Like, do you learn how to do things yourself? And do you learn how to make the money yourself? Because I do in every avenue of my life.
Yeah,
I
to a
did.
point where, and I'm sure for you, it's hard to even like not do that because we always think
Yeah.
we can, right? Especially with ChatGPT now, we can just look it up
Right.
all the reasons, right? So
Yes.
yes, like even this VA company that I started, which probably shouldn't
Yes.
even started, it was just because I saw someone do it. I was like, I like
Yes.
the Filipino people; they're very loyal. I'm gonna build a big business over there. So
Yes.
but yes, 120%. Yes, that's it. Same thing too.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
so by the way, let's lead to this question. So, how did you, or have you ever, because that's one thing I'm probably like struggling with now. Do you
Yeah.
ever like, there's like Alric, I'll probably get him to run our ads, but I'm like, I could probably do ads and do this.
Yes.
I could train Nathaniel, right? Just so you know, like
Uh-huh.
he's on it and he knows that. We all know that. But there's a point when
Yeah.
was a part of your 8-figure journey that you let go and let somebody else? Because as business owners, we do have to trust that. What
Yeah.
was the point there for that
There
happened?
were there were two, I almost want to say I have a before and after journey in my business. And for those who don't know me, I'm bipolar type 1 and I have a trauma disorder and those are tough things to deal with. And so I'm medicated and I do all the coping skills, managing skills,
Right.
etc.
Yep.
So now it's a stable life. But before I was definitely a lot more reactive as a leader, a lot more reactive. I was a lot more stressful. Nothing like terrible, but I had my temper tantrums. And it was basically like the things before I understood how the nervous system works. So I would like kind of have like mini meltdowns and be like, fine, I'll just do it myself. And then I did build a team who learned how to say, stop doing it yourself and pull everything off of my plate. And then in 2022, we experienced, I had a full public breakdown, which I can totally talk about now. Full public breakdown, 8 hour live stream, thousands of videos, posting things, my deepest secrets, everything.
Yeah, I remember, but I remember a
Yeah.
little. I was wondering if you were going to talk about this or not. But yeah, I saw
We
some of it.
totally can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty, I'm actually so grateful it happened now. No, I wasn't before. That was awful to go through. And then also, it took years to rebuild my reputation and the layers of respect and trust and rapport and explain, like, what the heck was that? Because it was so from left field. Basically, I had a manic episode and psychotic break. So that can happen to any person, which is a wild recognition, the psychotic break, where you forget what's real. And that was very trauma induced. So after that part, I had to relearn what it was to be a leader once I realized I was reactive and I was acting immaturely. And then now today, like yesterday, I made a mistake with something and I called my team. I said, team, I need help. Within 5 minutes, we were all on a group call. I said, I need your help. Here's what happened. They literally said, stop right there. We got it, Rach. Go take care of the other project. And I said, thank you guys so much. So there's the before and after journey for sure. But there were two eras where I did learn to ultimately trust people.
Yeah, no, and that's key. And by the way, I love that you brought that
Yeah.
up. And to kind of go into that, so I
Yeah.
follow personal brands, and I'm very much real, right?
Yes.
So it's funny, like I even get Kanye when he goes crazy, right? Like I know it's
Hmm.
that way. I understand. I know I don't agree with everything, okay, when I say
Yes.
this stuff, but I understand. Even Elon Musk, right? He's a little. I taught it. So I taught behavioral middle school kids for a while who had very trauma. They had bipolar. My
Yeah.
mom actually was like, I don't know if she's schizophrenic or whatever the deal was, but she had depression. And she was in a what was it, a psych ward, right? And my
Yep.
dad had to bust her out. And until she found Jesus and got saved, she went through
Yeah.
that. Not that she didn't suffer from a little things like that then, but
Yes.
I saw the power of the Lord through that. And then fast forward to today, teaching. I'm so thankful for teaching middle school at today. I taught like middle school and high school, and it was a trauma school because it made
Yeah.
me understand people. I never came from like hate. And part of the reason why I wanted to have you on so bad was because of this reason, because I still have my students listen to me, who they show them that you can have bipolar, you can have
Yep.
these things, and you can still, as that fight not the demons so much, but fight the stuff and
Yeah.
still succeed. You know what I mean? Like it's still
Absolutely.
possible. It inspires people. I think of somebody just last night who I was inspiring and talking to, and she was a girl, and I'm like, oh, she has to watch this episode because
Oh,
like we all go through stuff, and if it just reaches one person, that's that person.
even
It's
through
worth it,
that.
right?
Yes, and something I want to share. So, my parents were pastor. My dad was a pastor growing up. My mom was a worship leader. But what was so tough underneath, and this is where there are those layers of understanding that happen with time,
Mhm.
um, is that my parents were both mentally unstable, and so they experienced traumas, and that led to me experiencing lots of trauma in my household. And I think one of the hardest things for me to realize was the recognition of it wasn't my fault. That was part one. It wasn't my fault. There's no shame in having mental illness or personality disorders. You
Yeah.
can't control that you grew up in trauma. So, like, recognize that, grieve the fact that you didn't have a normal childhood. And then at some point, you wake up and you realize, oh, shoot, if I don't want to continue this cycle that my parents went through, I need to recognize A, it wasn't my fault, right? We established that. And then B, ultimately, it's my responsibility to choose something different. And that is a forever decision. It gets easier and easier. But each day I have to ask myself, which identity do I want to feed? The one that was born, raised, and created in chaos,
Yeah.
or this one that, you know, became something because of that, through that, despite that, and that wouldn't change that journey now that in hindsight.
Which, by the way, I'll say the reason why you're so magical, like magical at what you do, is because you come from that. So you understand to ask those questions that people, like
Yes.
anybody can build a funnel and make money online with a fake story, right? But when you
So
get the
true.
true, right? So that's what
Yeah.
gives marketers a bad name. We get the
Yes.
true root behind a brand of what it is and what represents it, right? Which is really the people, we're all people in this world until AI takes over, right? then that's what I'm serious about that. Like I'm doing it, it's freaking me out. But in all seriousness, like that's what builds up the that's why I think personal branding, which what you do for any
Yep.
women out there listening that you want to build something. But let's talk a little bit about because I wanted to go in. I'm glad you brought that up. When you were going through the episode and you were putting everything out there, right? For a while, like and by the way, I learned this because I'm very reactive, right? And I don't know if I have trauma or anything. We probably have all these issues too, right?
I
But
do
at
a
the
little
same, because
bit.
I was told after, so my story in short, how I got into entrepreneur late, okay, in 32, was my brother lived down here in Miami and he was
Okay.
married, he married a supermodel girl. He engaged her. He had his thing and they had two kids. And so anyway, she was with another guy for like money and it was killing him inside. Yeah. Kind of in
No,
a
what?
morsel like that.
Oh,
Yes. So you can only imagine. So he came up to Connecticut where I'm from and
okay.
he's Jeff, let's build this business. I want to get my family back. So I agreed with him. So we decided to build a coffee shop studio at the time. And then 2 days after we had the whole, because he came up for my sister's wedding,
Yep.
he asked me, "Hey Jeff, can you wake me up to get a haircut? I want to take Dad to get a tux." I said, "Yeah, no problem." I go to wake him up, and my brother died on drugs, fentanyl, passed away. Jason, yeah,
Oh,
and that was literally probably that still is probably the hardest moment. That happened. One of my students committed suicide at the school, right? Same week. It was like the Job moment. Girlfriend broke up with me. I'm therapy. The lady tries to medicate me. She's like, "You have ADD, OCD." I said, "Fine, med me up. I'm gonna go home and commit
you're
suicide."
making me cry over
Yeah.
here.
So this is
Oh
like this
my
was the
God.
whole origin to where it became because I wound up then saying to my dad, and my dad was in sales, right? And I never want to be in sales because my dad was in sales type deal. You never want to like do that. But my dad showed me, he gave me two things, and I give my dad all the credit. He gave me a book. Do you ever read the book Power of Subconscious Mind?
Yes.
Great book, Dr. Joy. It's a Christian book. And then he showed me a video by a guy named Grant Cardone. People hate or love the guy. But
Yep.
I went home that day. I prayed, God, I don't care if I wake up. And I heard on my voice, Depression Grant Cardone. I watched that video. It was the best. You ever see that video, the Depression Grant Cardone video?
I didn't, but I'll be super honest. I'm very, very picky about who I learn about depression from. So that's just
Right.
one of my
By the
nuances.
way, and by the way,
Yes.
Grant is Grant. Okay, I know Grant
He-
like makes a lot of people right that way.
Yes.
However, and I wish it
But
was a
yeah.
Tony Robbins video going on. And people like Jeff, you're so heart-centered and stuff, right? And I prayed for Grant. I had a lane on here. I prayed for him. He knows that too. But
Oh,
it got me in the point. He talked
yeah.
about potential problems. You don't have potential. So
Yeah.
and I got about it. I wrote that I'm going to build the biggest franchise in honor of my brother called Kokomo Jays. You don't give him America because my brother's name was Jay. And that's what you're watching. If you're helping other people get where they want, you do where
Yeah.
you want. I started
Yeah.
documenting the journey just very authentically because that's all I knew how to be until a point, and this is why I want to bring up your thing. Whenever I
Yeah.
got a breakup, I would share it online. I would do it in my email list, right? I was a little
Hmm.
bit too much where my sales team or people were like, "Hey Jeff," I was like, "The open rate's amazing." Like, yeah, maybe you don't keep a journal for that, you know? But to me, it was very cathartic. It was very good for me. So when I saw you releasing all that stuff,
Yeah.
I got it. I totally understood it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, so what I know it was an episode and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
is there a part of you that doesn't regret any of that? You know?
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I will say, so okay, I'll speak super candidly to this
yeah, please.
because it was public record.
Yeah,
Like there were certain people, one in particular I'll talk about because I come back to it a lot. Like my mother. I let my mother have it. And it was the first time in my life that I finally shared. Well, let me rephrase it. It was the first time I shared without being told I was wrong or I misunderstood or that's not how it happened or you must have invented that story. Those types of narratives. So it was the first time I was like, you know what? Forget you all. Because I'm going to share my truth because I've been, you know what I mean? I've
yeah, so
been,
caught in, so trapped in. Yes,
yes.
I totally know. Yeah,
So I don't regret that portion of it because I needed that breakthrough.
right. Yeah,
Because yeah, it was just messy and there were a lot of mind games and fear and shame happening in my household. But on the flip side, like I really hurt my mom. And there are a few other people I hurt. I have apologized to all the people that I am sorry for hurting. There are a few where I'm like, no, I just shared the facts about what happened and I'm not sorry. Like that's just what you did. But like I've had to go through facing my mom and realizing like I am so sorry I blasted you online and I didn't mean to create the same kind of hurt you did to me because that would not make me different. That makes me the same if we continue the cycle of hurt.
right.
And while we haven't had our whatever. We haven't figured out what we're going to do, my mom and I.
Right.
For the most part, I feel like that was the beginning of people realizing, like, oh, maybe Rachel, this is why she's done some of the things that she's done that
Right.
didn't make sense. Or maybe this is why she is afraid or puts up walls at
Right.
times,
Yeah.
And so I'd say for the most part, I don't regret it, but I do regret hurting, for example, my mother. I know my father was hurt through it, my sisters were hurt through it. That's the only thing I regret is hurting them because then I'm not different than the
Right.
decisions that were made.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
get that. The one thing
Yeah.
that I will say is because you're so like you've overcome so much to be where you're at, right?
Okay.
And so when was the point then that you started like you felt successful or like online kind of in a way? When did that feel happen?
Oh man, okay, so there was one point, and it was actually right before the breakdown, which is why I think it was a beautiful thing that happened.
Yeah.
I suddenly realized I was successful in the year before. So 2021 to 2022, we were experiencing our biggest months. I was on all the biggest stages.
Yeah.
And this, I just want to say, I don't know if you've experienced this one yet, but when you first realize, oh, I'm successful, it is very easy to let ego build up
Oh
and
yeah, no,
pride build
totally,
up.
totally.
Yep. So that was a little bit of my pride cometh before the fall moment. I was like, I can pretty much walk into any store and buy anything I want. Not, well, I mean, within reason. I couldn't go buy a private jet or anything, but it was this wild,
But yeah,
almost
but
like,
coming from nothing to then
yeah,
having money
yes,
and then getting notoriety where, you have a brand, people invite you to stuff, you're getting
yes,
paid to speak on stages, all this stuff that's happening, you
yes.
feel almost invincible at that point. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
I,
want to
I
share
had
one
the
of
same moment. Yes. So
yes. And I do think we all get grace for it once.
yeah,
So, like,
okay, good.
case in point. So I went to Paris for an event. I went to Paris, and then last minute we got an appointment at the Louis Vuitton on Champs-Élysées, which is the street in France. And yeah, so we go in, and there's a line wrapped around the block, and they pulled us through the line because for some reason. And then suddenly the woman asked my name. She asked for something like about my social or something. And then she went and talked to the manager, and they said, we want to take you to a place called Seventh Heaven. So they brought me backstage at Louis Vuitton up to the VIP place where they served us. I know, juice in fancy Louis
Right.
Vuitton glasses. There's a Louis Vuitton bathroom with Louis Vuitton wallpaper. And like everything, that was kind of how it was starting to feel.
Yeah.
And like those types of experiences do make you go, oh, I do feel important.
Right.
And I let that kind of sink in a little bit. So I'm actually grateful that the breakdown happened because these days I don't actually take myself too seriously. And while success, yes, our business is successful again, we rebuilt it.
Yeah.
To me, success is like, are we having fun? Are we having deep conversations? Am I doing hard work? Like, am I doing a good job as a mom? And so that reset my barometer back to where it needed to be.
Yeah, no, by the way,
Yeah.
I love that. And by the way, what was it that made them pick you out of line? Was it your brand? They recognized who you were and they wanted like shout outs and stuff, or what was the
To this day, I still have no idea why they said
okay.
yes to bringing me to the VIP lounge. And I didn't ask, which is wild.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I guess not. But no,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. There's a part of ego. So here, I'll share my ego
Mm.
fall and comeback story.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yes, please. I
So
love these.
literally, I go through the whole journey, buying all the courses, stuff like that,
Yes.
selling it. I wind up selling this was a while ago, like before it was a 6 week, 3K course on basically how to prospect. I had an AI software that I
Yep.
coded that used to do auto DM and I got really good at copy, right?
Okay.
So I started getting paid at one point like $2,000 a call to look over copy, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, look, and by the way, like people, it wasn't like I was like taking the money and everything. They all did well, right? They were all doing very
Yes.
well.
Oh,
That was
yes.
kind of, right, in the copy world, right? And
Yes.
so I was selling windows and bartending, and I started making money on the side with this little workshop, right? And I was
Yeah.
learning from the thing. I bought my 4 unit, and then I blew up on an app called Clubhouse. Do you remember Clubhouse?
Oh, that was a huge opportunity. Yep.
Yeah, so I blew up on that
Yep.
app because I was just giving copy advice. I was really just sharing from my heart, sharing my story, just authentically, right? So
Yep.
companies started flying me out, put me up in hotels, kind of the whole deal, because they wanted me to basically consult their business or like I think they wanted my knowledge and my connections, right? I don't even know. There
Yes.
was one guy, but I want
Yep.
to remember, right? You get it. So I
Yeah.
remember,
Doors just open and you're
yeah,
like, what's happening?
I was up on the SLS. I was getting made fun of by this one guy on Clubhouse who just likes to beat people down, right? Let's just put
Ah,
it that way.
yeah.
And I didn't even know what the SLS hotel was, right? Because it's a big
Yep.
hotel in the Beverly Hills. But he's like, "Where's he putting you up?" I was like, I don't know, the SLS hotel. I'm like, "Oh, that's a nice hotel." And the guy treated me like a
Yep.
king. Brian Murdoch, All Work Communications, great guy. I gave him my 65K consulting deal. He shook my hand on it and was like, dude, I believe it. He believed in me before anybody else, right? So give a good shot. I got to have him on here eventually.
Yes, you
So
do.
anyway, yeah, at the event, he was a great dude. Great dude. Great memory. I stayed in Culver City, LA for a while. And then I
Yep.
started getting paid speaking gigs. Well, so because I was getting so much money, I built this whole paywall. I gave it where like people wouldn't have my number, like the whole kind of deal, right? Because this was what I was like told, and I watched other people in my circle do. And I wound up moving to Miami. I sold my 4 unit. I had 82K in my bank. I sold a couple 3K. I had 100K in my bank. It was like the first 100K in my account. Kind of
That
same
is
deal,
that's
right?
huge, by the way. When you, yeah, yeah.
Huge. I've been named one of my course the
Good.
100K formula because that was like the first financially free. I could pay off my dad's house and one bit if I wanted to, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that was it. And I felt like all my decisions of buying the 4 unit, buying the courses, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad finally paid off, right? So
Yep.
now I wound up going to I wound up coming here. My buddy who I lived with, he made 30K that week. He has his biggest, like he has a like a $500,000 month and he does a home
Yep.
equity thing. So he goes and gets a boat for his family in Peru. He's Peruvian. And
Yep.
then he's like, and he was very much, and he's a great guy, but he's very much the image guy, right? I want to buy a Ford Mustang convertible when I got here. He's took me a mastermind that you only buy Lambos or anything. And that's not
Oh my
wrong.
God.
Like it's this other
Yeah.
guy. But like, so I'm like now finding myself in this whole space
Yeah.
doing the paywall. Well, we wind up going to, he talks me into going to Colombia and I want to get my teeth fixed and learn Spanish because I live in Miami, right? So I'm like, okay.
Yes.
So we go there. I signed 350K clients in like 1 month because he actually talks me into, dude, you people are making so much money. I
Yeah.
started off paying $250, you make 2,500, I'll give you your money back because I want to be liked and I didn't know if it would always work, right? And
Yep.
I still like that whole model, right? But anyway, I signed 350K clients. Now I'm there. I have all this money. I wind up starting a VA company in the Philippines because I didn't know what to do with it, right? And I'm trying to like be productive and smart, and I can build it instead of using a guy's VA company. The same thing we are talking about, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then all of a sudden, I go to pay. It was actually my dad at the time, but I go to pay one of my people, and all my accounts are wiped at zero, right? And when this happened,
Yep.
I was sitting in Columbia in the mall, El Tesoro Mall. I remember looking at my accounts, and at the point I was about to receive an award in LA Style magazine for most influential type deal, right? And I
Yeah.
couldn't even book the plane ticket to go. And I had my little inner circle community, and I didn't know what I was going to tell them. I had no money. And it was my mistake. The same mistake my dad made with the IRS because I had a 4 unit, I had a software company, everything. The IRS went and garnished the wages, which they can do. Okay. It's their,
Yes.
right? I just thought we had an agreement. We didn't have an agreement, right? So I'm there in Colombia. I can't even feel like I can't hustle. I pray, God, I thought I heard you told me to do this business because I was at event before. Long story short, they wind up I get divorced, texted Jeremiah 29:11. Do you know that verse?
Yes, per I know the plans I
That's
have
that
for
for you.
you,
I didn't
declares
even
the
know
Lord.
that first at the time. Grew up in the
Yep.
church the whole thing.
Yep.
Nathaniel and Shalom texted me. I get on to build out a webinar. That was my main like signature product, 7K product. I get on to do sales. The guy, Amp Your Life, I was actually wearing a shirt before, spoke at his event, but he has Jeremiah 20:11. I look up the verse. I go home. I talk to God. Like, when you talk to God and you hear from him, right? Like the Holy Spirit. And it was
Yep.
all about like he showed me everything that I was doing wrong and was like, put me first. So I got on my knees, was like, Lord, I'll put you first in everything. And because of that, the grace of God, Angela Duncan, who's a woman, she has a Woman Empower Her Money podcast. She has an insurance business. She wires me
Yeah.
30K. And by the grace of God, I'm back in Miami. I go to VU Church. And actually, my inner circle guy, Nemesio, he's not even here. He had a painting company. He bought my ticket to go receive the award. And I'm speaking on stage with no money. I can say it now, but I had no money
Yes.
in my account at all. I didn't know where I was going to go. I was going back to Connecticut, right? And I'm up there saying,
Yes.
Tim Story's in there listening to me, like, you've done it. And he's sitting next to me. And these are like heroes of mine. And I'm at like the
Yeah.
lowest point. And it was really just the Lord saying, hey, put me first in all that. And
Yeah.
after that, and I remember my mentor say, hey, who are you to not give out your phone? So I give my phone number to everybody. Yeah, I got to
Yeah.
learn boundaries too, because we're such givers, right?
Yeah.
But it made me not be that guy, right? That was the
Yes.
thing. And I definitely got grace. The Lord definitely gave me grace to this point. But yeah, that was my whole big moment there, you know?
I do love those moments. And it's weird because before I went through my journey, and you might feel this way too, if I had found out that a speaker had been through situations like mine or yours,
Mhm.
I'd be like, there's no way I want to learn from them. They're
Right.
struggling. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
They're at a low point.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that getting on, like saying yes when you are at the lowest points, that is the only way to move forward.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to say yes to the opportunities that are presented to you. And sometimes you're going to go on stage and you have to teach things that are, it feels like it's a memory from what you used to do. And it
Yeah.
may have worked before, but like that is so humbling. And then you're like, all I can do is like show up and have a, a humble and grace-filled attitude towards myself. But then I actually find the audience connects better, if that makes sense,
Yeah, they
than when
do. And there's always
flying
the,
high.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's always like don't share from the scar, like when you're in it, but share after, right? Once it's
Yeah.
healed, right? But like what, so okay, so then so you lose
Yeah.
everything to because when I saw you and I'm on your email list or whatever, and I responded and stuff, and you said yes, I was like ecstatic because I remember like a
Yep.
lot seeing you on stage, right? Then seeing you your whole episode. So what
Yep.
when you were at the lowest time, how did you build it all back from there?
It was pretty messy, I'm not gonna lie. Something I was shocked by is when I was at the lowest point, I was scared to do anything. Do you know what I mean? I was exactly what we were just talking about, having to face that stage or anything and being like, I feel like I have nothing to contribute. And that's a very weird feeling. I feel like I'm starting from the ground up and I don't know how to do that. And like, you know what I mean? Still share things. So for me, the biggest thing was I asked my husband Paul if he could actually basically this is so silly, but pretend to be like a Wendy Rhodes, which is from the show Billions. Like,
Oh,
can
yeah.
you pretend to be a performance coach? And I want you to just hype me up and talk me through this. Be the Tony Robbins to my Andre Agassi. And like if I hadn't had Paul at that time, I still probably would have found a way to make it. You know what I mean? But
Right.
that was grace. He was grace for that time. Otherwise, I would have been doing this for myself. I would have been like, all right, listen, we need to get in there. We need to get our head in the game. Come on. But he literally would hype me up before each and everything. And I was like, I'm so sorry that I am so scared right now because I know what it is to have built basically it all and then to have destroyed it through just a series of events. And then so he was just sitting there. He's like, come on, you are the best in the game. You got this. Just remember, this is just a short time. This will be like a chapter in the past of the book. And like just keep going. And that honestly helped me a lot. Otherwise I would have been doing it, like I said, for myself.
No, and by the way, that's
Yeah.
huge. And I don't think anybody ever talks
Yeah.
about that too. And I want to touch on your lifestyle too, of the fact that you just stay and keep it so simple, and you don't have, even though you can go hire everything out and live in there.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Minnesota, right?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, so it's funny. One of the homeschool families, the Martin families, they grew up in Minnesota, and they were there. So I know a lot about Minnesota because of them. Like I
Oh,
lived
how
after my
fun.
mom passed away. I got taken in by the Agee family and the Martin family, and they were great.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
a whole bunch of kids, the whole deal. So
Yeah.
but like yeah, what made the decisions? Like, so was it because you had the money, and then did you ever make like the stupid decisions with the money, or you're always pretty
Yeah.
smart with them? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There were some things that were stupid decisions, but they weren't the worst decisions I could have made, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I could have gone and bought a bunch of Lambos or been like, "Oh, I've got enough money, I can go buy a Rolls Royce in cash." And like I never did those big types of purchases, but I was very Yeah, with the pre-breakdown portion of my business, I was very, very generous with family and friends and team.
Right.
So it wasn't just like we travel, it was like, or Paul and I travel, we travel with our team. Our team at times travels first class.
Yeah.
We bought like my in-laws a new van for Christmas because theirs didn't have heat. We would pay for vacations for our teams for a long time. And I think that was my way of making up for the fact that I knew I was a tougher boss at that time.
Yeah.
But also, I really loved them and cared about them. So, in that way, those types of things I don't regret. And we did so much of that. I mean, almost every person on our team can say I went on a fully like funded trip thanks to Rachel and Paul. And that's pretty cool, whether they had traveled before or not. Um, the stupid decisions, in my opinion, were really and truly not being aware of how much we were spending. So, like cutting down, recognizing that rainy days can happen. I probably could have had a lot more in savings and emergency funds and things like that. So, that's more of the things I regret. There wasn't like the big, lavish, one big purchase. Though I did love Louis Vuittons, and I bought obviously on in the Paris store. I did buy quite a few of those, but I've actually given most of them away at this point, and so now I'm like, I'll never not have an emergency fund or a savings again moving forward, just to make sure we're covered.
Yeah, no, that's key. And it's funny, Louis Vuitton, I like now, but I remember when I was a
Mhm.
teacher, I had a girlfriend and she just wanted a Louis Vuitton purse. And I was trying to save up so much money to buy it, right? And I knew it was.
Oh,
We wound up breaking up on Valentine's Day or the day after.
no.
And I think she held out for them because after I lost my brother, I just wasn't the same person, right? And
Yeah.
like, I'll take full responsibility. I don't want to put her in a bad light or anything, but I just wasn't the same person. And we wound up breaking up for certain reasons. But I remember feeling like, oh, I could never be the man that could afford her. Louis Vuitton. She'll never be with me, right? Because that was kind of my brother. My brother actually called her some names and compared her to something when before everything happened. We
Mhm.
made up. Me and my brother made up before that. But yeah, it's funny. Like that's such a part of the
Yes.
journey. And I'm still going through that too now, where it's like when you say that, I'm just like
Yep.
it triggers it back. But no, it's funny because you're
Yeah.
right. I think when you get so decent at marketing and it can
Yep.
whip up money with a product, right? You
Yep.
kind of get this false sense of security because I had it. I went
We
close,
all do. Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
like I'll admit it, like, and some of my mentors weren't the Dave Ramsey mentors were saying, save up the whole money,
No.
right?
Yes. Okay. Yes.
So
Same.
right. So I was
Yes.
just like, and they're always trying to sell you, and to their own credit, right? You're in the whole world,
Yeah.
their next course, and that's all good. Invest in yourself, and I get all of it. But there is a point, and where this is the Make More Money podcast, having a cushion. So when a flood happens in the Philippines, you can take care of your team is cool. And by the way, I did that too. When I went to the Philippines for a trip, one of my sales girls closed a 12K webinar build out. This girl that I was pretty serious about, I booked a trip to Vegas. If she would have married me, I would have married her there. It didn't work out. But I went for her solar con there, and then I went to Philippines. I got to get them rental cars. I got to pay for the meal. I felt like the boss. Like it felt really good. Those things I don't regret either, right? Like
Yeah.
I get that. But yes, the things of actually building up secure things that still I think is something as entrepreneurs is always something in there. I'm doing that right now,
I
you know.
I agree with this, and I also want to point out, I will not say any names ever on this, but there are people who are wildly at the top of the game and successful that haven't figured that out yet.
I
And I've
know.
had those
I know. And
conversations.
by the way, well, we can
Yes.
talk about it later. By the way, can I tell you something? We didn't know each other before we did this, right?
No,
And I
no.
knew we didn't. I knew it would be like this because I knew the
Yes.
type of person you are in heart. And a lot of the people that I get on, or that now that I have the Make Money podcast, I have all these
Yes.
people flashing in my email, like, hey, get me on your podcast. I'm like, yeah, it's invite only. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
just don't, no offense, but I don't want to sell your stuff if I feel like you're not truly gonna help someone. You're just gonna like, or
Yes.
you know what I mean? Like that's
Yes.
just my nothing against. I don't even begrudge how they're making money, right? Like for the thing.
No.
It's not that I hate on that. It's just that I don't want to sign off on that. You know what I mean? Kind of in a way. For especially on this theory to make more money podcast. So by me having someone on, it's an endorsement. This is why I'm totally endorsing you. I know there's people that I can't help. I know there's girls right now who can hear your story, where you're at. They've been there, they've struggled, right,
Yeah.
in business. I can think of a few of them that, I've always tried to help out and that you can help. So what drives you today then? What's your why today now?
It's interesting because it's changing a lot. And what, so I wish I had a super just concise answer on this one, and I don't yet, but I have the clear vision of our why. That was actually the big thing. After my dad died, I also did not feel the same. And so, right after my breakdown, as soon as I came back all stable, my dad died, and then I broke my hand. And it was just like, are you kidding me? Right? So, I'm like in Mexico. My husband's at like a Despensa event, and I'm sitting there angry and hurting. And so, there was like three things that happened right in a row: the breakdown, my dad dying, and then breaking my hand. And I was just like, I don't know what I want with life. And so I actually considered leaving the marketing industry pretty heavily during that year. And it was this past year and a half that we decided, you know what? Let's re up for 10 more years. We see the next level of vision. Because if I couldn't see the next level of vision, I wasn't just going to build stuff because I wasn't going to just build stuff to sell stuff, if that makes sense.
No,
That
it
just
probably makes sense.
didn't
Yeah.
feel right. And so, what I want to share, okay, I can share this. Just so you know, this is my next 10 to 20 years.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And I have not shared it at all. My why is a combination of I want to transform a bit of marketing into understanding people better,
Good.
understanding what helps people, how to motivate people for change, also how to understand the nuance of marketing, how to understand the subjective and objective side of marketing, and ultimately how to set the standard for the market. That's all I'm going to say. But basically, right now, there is not something that unifies marketing, and that's all I can say. And I cannot wait for this to go live. But this is literally my greatest life work in business yet.
By the way, can I tell you something?
Mhm.
I love this. I'm so glad we're doing this now, and you've shared
Me
so much because
too.
I just feel like I know you a lot more than like most people. Okay. Just and because of that, I know why. I know what feds you because it's the same thing for me. I know what
Hmm.
makes you so upset about marketing and what you want to change for
Yep.
the new standard of it. And I'm
Yep.
all for it. So anybody I can be a part of it. And I already know, and I know
Oh,
what, by the way, I've thought of that and it's so tough. You've built
yes.
way more than me. If anybody can do it, you can do it. And I'll be
Thank
your biggest
you.
cheerleader on that because we do
Thank
need that.
you.
There's so much stuff in that. And being a marketer, I never want to be like
Yeah.
that guy. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
right? I want to be
Yes.
the connection person like what you are,
Yeah.
right? This thing, people need more like you. That's
Well,
amazing.
thank you.
So,
And
so yeah.
yeah, and the big thing too, I want to make it clear like you want to know when you're pushing buttons for fun,
Yeah.
or you want to know when to intentionally push the line a little bit. You want to know where to stop in marketing. So that's exactly what I want to dive into. Yes, 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 yes. I'm
Yeah,
so
because when
excited
I went
about it.
through the whole clubhouse world and there's great
Yeah.
guys, Perry Belcher, all these names, and I was doing the
Yep.
copy stuff and use finally, it's all these little things you can use, these gimmicks I like to say, right?
Yes.
I remember thinking, okay, yes, that works, but I got so like, what's the word? Sick of like we're just throwing these gimmicks in to just sell a
Yeah.
product, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? So
Yep.
that's why my market, this is why I connected you so well, is so different, right? It's so like,
Yeah.
that's what I was like,
Yeah.
have you been on my podcast? I'm like, no, we're more personable, like to almost a fault where like we might lose the
Mhm.
sale, but we'll build a connection and people remember who we are. You know what I mean? All the
Yes.
way through, right? Like, and I know that doesn't make any sense in business sense, but it makes sense in
Yeah.
life sense, right? So,
Yeah. 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 It
and
does.
that's because what your personal brand is by documenting is building out, your wealth is your name, like building out all the way through end. So if you just put in some,
Yes.
things and buy some stuff and sell some stuff on there, you're just being a transaction in society, you know?
And okay, so if anyone is listening to this and you're like, I understand that, but I feel like right now I'm still in that transactional period of business. There is a period that's
Yeah.
transactional. There is a time where you work with bad clients before you get to the good
Yeah,
clients. Like,
good.
and
Thank
that's actually a gift.
you.
Trust me, you don't want to, like waste you don't want to actually waste the time with the best clients before you build up the best skills and experience.
Yeah, it's true.
But like there is a transactional period. And now the way I'm looking at it, Jeff, is like the first 10 years of my business were my like let's build with a little more of the transaction,
All right.
just a bit to make sure that we have the team fed and everything. But now there's a bit more of that legacy piece coming into play. And I had to earn the right to build that, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. I'm glad you
Yes.
did say that because there's a point
Yeah.
when okay, when I went through the whole time, nobody had my number. They were paying to get on
Yes.
every call, the whole stuff. People
Yeah.
that my whole brand was Jeff's transaction. He's too much like this, oh, it makes sense. He follows
Yep.
Grant Cardone. And I was like, no, 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 this is not what I want,
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but yeah, but you needed that. I was like, no, I to grow the team, to grow everything.
Yes.
This is what we do for sales, right? And being an entrepreneur, if you're giving a good service, people should pay for it. Like that's just it. I've always paid my bills, always been, I was a waiter, I would tip good right where I'm at.
Yep.
I'm helping out
Yep.
this restaurant right down here because my own goal is to build a coffee shop. They have a coffee shop restaurant right here. I love it. I literally love helping everything with it. And so many people will come to that restaurant because it's a newer startup, which I think why I love it because it's such a startup. And they know the friends, they want a discount, all that stuff too, which is fine. I get that. But there's a point like, dude, when do you respect your friend's business? Like, right?
Yes.
Like you gotta have to do that. Like it's not always just given. So
Yeah.
the Lord's given me different points of my life where He's taught me things, and if I'm listening to Him, I actually learn like, oh, this is the lesson in it. So
Yeah.
where's your faith with the Lord right now and growing there? Because you grew up very much in a Christian household, and like, how did faith come into play, especially with everything that you go through?
Ooh. So this is one where, okay, you found the rare question. I only have three questions that I don't answer right now.
Okay.
And I'll share what those three are. Number one, I don't talk about sex unless I choose to share like a cheeky little copywriting joke or something.
Yeah,
I do like those. Number two, right now, we have an agreement not to talk about politics for many different
yeah, that's
reasons.
a good one. All right,
Yep.
let's talk about
Especially with some family things.
that.
And number three, right now, I am not talking about my current situation with faith. And the only reason I share that is because I still am figuring it out. And it feels very vulnerable. And I don't know how else to share it. But like, where do I stand with what I was taught? I'll share this. How do I guess, reconcile some of the things that I experienced being inside of leadership in a church?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
oh, that makes sense.
My dad's mentor was actually featured on Shiny Happy People season 2, and that's kind of interesting. So
What's
there's
shining happy in people? Is that like money,
it's
money, crazy stuff?
No, it's about cults.
Oh,
So,
oh wow.
yeah, so that was my dad's mentor when he was a pastor. And you're probably sensing there's a lot of nuance here.
Right. Yeah.
So, I just don't talk about it right now because I don't want to like lead anyone down a wrong road, if that makes sense, just because I'm figuring out where I
No,
stand.
no, no. And by the way, I
Yeah.
respect that and totally understand
Yeah.
that. And when I was, and totally get that. And
And
when I
thank
was, so I grew up, no,
Yeah.
so I grew up very Christian, right? And then,
Yeah.
no, I've been through my whole thing. I partnered when I built the AI company with, he was Muslim. So I started reading the Quran and learning different stuff. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to believe what I believe. And like, cause we like to create our own stuff. And I'll say this
Yeah.
without like doing that. I just didn't want to. And I would watch all those movies like Constantine and stuff. And like, God has all these rules. You got to follow rules. We're entrepreneurs. We don't want to
Yeah.
follow rules, right? You know what I mean? So I would go through all the struggles that everybody would go through, right? And it
Yep.
wasn't until I really had my biggest breakout that my ego, this is what I'll say. My
Yes.
ego gets so big that if nobody gives it to a greater power, to God, to the Lord, right?
Yep.
Then Satan or whatever will do will treat you that you're a God, right? This is, I think, a lot of the problems
Yeah.
that happen in America with all the corrupt stuff is people just think they can get away with stuff and they're gods in a point, right? So
Yeah.
that's why for me it's very important because
Yeah.
like I know for me right now where I'm at. And I remember being on Clubhouse and one girl be like, "Oh, you didn't find enlightenment and this is spiritual. You're at this level and this is," and I get all the rum,
Yeah.
but for me, in my house, like I understand that. And by the way, both my churches fall. One of them bought a whole bunch of like stuff. The other one cheated on his wife, right, and stuff, right? So
And I
like
think that's hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way,
Yep.
if we're really in a battle like for everything, then Satan's gonna take the top dogs and try and bring them down, right? Because then it brings down everybody. Like it's so smart if there's less people. So like I understand the spiritual warfare battle, I understand the walk battle, and I never judge anybody by what journey they're going through, right? Like ever. Like I pray for them. I hope that they're the best. If I believe this, like I'll share it when it's
Yep.
right, but I'm not gonna like overstep or anybody like that because
Yeah.
I always remembered the people like in certain point wagging their hand at me, and I don't learn from that. I don't think anybody learns from that. There's a
I
point
so
when
agree.
so like
Yeah.
yes. So by the way, love your answer, love everything you're about.
Thank
So glad we
you.
connected here.
Me
What's
too.
your What's your main like money tip for someone who's maybe just starting out, right? People come to you, they want to start a brand, they want to start this, they're a little scared, they don't know, they don't believe people care, right? They're a little hurt. Yeah, go ahead.
I've got one. All right, ready for this?
Yeah.
Especially if you grew up in a tougher situation, do not price your services with your own wallet. The
Um,
reason I shared that one, yeah, right?
uh,
Because I grew up in a house where it's like we don't have 20 extra dollars, we don't have two extra nickels to rub together. So you believe that that's how it's going to go in the rest of the world. And every single one of my biggest leaps into, making every single goal come true was based on like honestly faith and believing that there was something bigger or better possible. So the first time I sent out, a five figure and then a six figure and then a multi six figure proposal, that was faith. By any name, it was faith. You have to when you can't see it yet.
yeah.
And so what I truly believe is you have to realize and research how much money there is out there, especially if you didn't see it or experience it firsthand. There are what, like 25 million millionaires just in the United States,
Mhm.
not let alone worldwide. Remember that there's more money than you realize, especially in the space of commerce.
Yeah, by the way, that's a phenomenal tip. I wish I had you on my podcast. Like, if you go back way before, and I actually heard it imply that. I learned that
Yeah.
too by having faith, by putting out the contracts. So I kind of, you learn this as you
Yeah.
go, but like, yeah, that is a great tip. That was the best tip. Like, one of the best tips. All right. What about relationship tips? So you mentioned,
Yep.
Paul and everything that one of the things that we say is best relationship you tip you have, whether it's business or personal relationship. What's the best relationship tip you have?
The one that has helped us the most in our marriage is remember that you're standing on the same side. So we had a mentor. His name is Bart Miller. I love Bart. I was his first coaching student ever, and now he has like a full-on coaching empire. Like he's just so great. So Bart taught us, I want you to imagine that you're standing like this, like you're looking at each other, and in the middle of you is the situation that you're upset with and trying to figure out. So right here is that. Here's you guys. If you both pull out your guns and start shooting at the situation, you're going to hit each other. So you need to stop, recognize that you need to come together and then solve the situation together. It's not we're accidentally hitting each other in this. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
you have to align and recognize that both of you are trying to solve the solution or the situation together instead of each trying to solve it and getting upset that the other's in your way. So that's one. And then the
Oh,
other I'm
that's
going to
really
share.
good. That's
Yeah,
really
there's one more
good.
I'll share too because my husband loves this one a lot, and he shared that this was big for him is ask better questions, ask new questions. So instead of being like, "Why are you that way?" like again and again, "Why do you always do that? Why do you always do that?" Instead, being like, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. I noticed that when you feel this way, you do this. Is there a reason that pattern keeps happening for you that you know of?" And like literally sitting down and getting curious. Paul is very good at getting curious, and that helps a lot, especially when someone has been through a lot. So we've done a lot of curiosity with each other, and that always reveals new parts and aspects of each other.
By the way, how long you guys been married?
Almost 13 years.
Wow,
Isn't that
congratulations. Because I
crazy?
know, yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
I'm not married yet. And it's funny, when I used to bartend, the reason I said that was a great tip, I used to ask people
Yeah.
how long they're married, ask for a tip, right? And
Yes.
I have a Google Doc with best marriage tips, how many years they've been married, right? So
I
maybe with
love that.
that, I mean, one day, like when I'm married, maybe I'll really send an ebook, right? But it was more for me. Like I go back.
Yes.
One of them, and it's very similar. It's like, don't fight to win, fight to resolve, right? And that's
Yes.
kind of like on your side of like, hey, see each other on the same time. You're resolving
Yes.
it together. And then
Yeah.
another thing, because I worked at behavioral middle school, I'll just share this other story
Yeah.
because they used to teach us for kids when they were in trauma and they were thing, you had to say, hey, when you feel that, the same thing, when you feel this, who's
Yes.
seeing this is the whole thing. And I
Yes.
remember that same ex-girlfriend I talked about way back when when she was a Latina girl, so she used to touch this guy's face when we were together, and it kind of like bothered me. So then I brought it up in a very like not emotional way. Like I used to react like, "What are you doing?" right at the moment. Later on, I questioned like, "Hey, when you do this, what makes
Yes.
you do that, right?" And I
Yes.
tried it, and it worked so well. She felt like bad
Yes.
about it, but then she totally understood it, right? And
Yep.
it was a respect thing. But I did, and then that was when I felt like I was maturing. I'm like, wow,
Yep.
I'm actually maybe I can actually have a relationship. I
Yes.
didn't freak out. I said it, and she actually listened and received it. But it was also how I became curious of, hey, what makes you? Is this in your culture? Do you really touch guys on the face when you have your hand on my lap? Like, it doesn't really make sense to me, right? So I didn't probably say it that way then, but it worked
Yep.
out way more successful. And I was like, wow.
Yes.
And then I remember I talked a lot, right? But I was with my brother on a plane and we were going somewhere to one event together. I forget which event. And there was a guy who had a business and I was just curious. I kept asking questions. My brother got off the plane. My brother Josh, he has a whole course on management and everything. He's great. Love my brother. He's finally started selling it again because he went off. So I love to give it a shout out
Yes.
when your family wins. And he's been such a mentor to me. He goes,
Oh,
he said to me, Jeff, like he's like, man, I love how curious you were with that person. He's like, you were never like that before. Because I was always like, about me, let's
yes.
go, right? Kind of way. But it's like,
Yes.
no, now like, and I apologize if that's ever how I came off because I've always been curious to learn
No,
something.
that
So
is so cool.
yeah.
I no, I actually love that. I'm big into I can usually tell where someone's like what their trajectory, their immediate trajectory and long term looks like based on the quality of the questions that they ask. So this has been amazing, this
But yeah, I was
podcast.
gonna say, so
Yeah.
what's with that?
Yeah.
What's my trajectory now? Me getting back into the podcast and me getting back in my brand. So just so you know what happened, just being
Yeah.
very authentic. I closed 358 clients. I didn't work on anything on my own brand. I just worked on their brands because they gave me a lot of money. My
Yes.
reputation's on all that, right? I want to make sure they're all good. Now they're all doing to the point and they're all friends and we're all okay. So now I'm
Yeah.
back to the coffee shop. I'm back working at this thing down here. I'm brick and
Yep.
mortar. I'm thinking I'm doing what I want. I'm wearing my brand again. I'm not like wearing their brand, right? So that's where I'm
Yeah.
at in the journey right now. But what's my whole goal and one of the saddest days is when I left the education system, when I was teaching all these kids who are in trauma. I actually
Yeah.
cried on the day because it was like I felt like I was leading them, right? So what's what would you do? I remember talking to the principal, like I'm gonna change it. What would you do to change that? You've already done it. This is why I hire you. But
Mhm.
what's something that you would do to change the education system, or what can someone else do to better educate themselves? Who's maybe in the school
Ooh.
system, they're a little bit young, or they got out, they're getting out of college, especially in this whole AI world, what we have going on?
Yes. Okay. So one of the big things I will share is that the education system currently, I understand why it is the way it is and why it's needed. We need a unified system for education, no question. That being said, the education system is doing the best it can to get people started. And we think, oh, I'm educating myself because I'm going through the education system. The education system will never take you to mastery. And I want you to remember that because, yeah, I talk to professors who teach like marketing and business in colleges and universities, and they're asking to pick my brain still.
Yeah,
And
stay.
so,
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
yes. And so just remember that, like anywhere you do education, your practice and discoveries and making it your own is going to be the greatest part of the journey. And that usually begins once the formalized education ends.
Yeah, by the way, do you do any speaking to like school? Because I just took a course recently, or I went to a mastermind, and it was to get paid with meeting planners, get paid speaking for that
Yeah.
for schools. And we're gonna start doing that this year. Have you done
Yes.
any of that yet, or no?
I've done some high schools, but I don't get paid for it because at this point in time, I would not accept money for that. That's a feel good thing for me.
Right.
So yeah, I've done a little bit of that, but here's one thing I will share. I do have a feeling we will be in a lot more schools at one point.
Yeah. No, totally,
Yep.
totally. I agree with that too. All right. Last
Yeah.
thing, because we ran out to not ran out of time. Then we can always do this again. I'm so glad. I feel like I found a
This was
new friend,
amazing.
everything. I knew it was be good.
Yes.
I didn't think it would be this
Yes.
good, right? So
Well,
you're
I'm having a
amazing.
blast.
So yeah, me too. So thank you so much. Where can people find more of you?
Easiest place is my website, rachelpedersen.com. It's all E's and a D in my last name. And I'm on every single social media platform as the Mrs. Pedersen.
Yeah, the Mrs. Pedersen.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for
So
coming on to the
good.
Make More Money podcast. Guys, we'll leave her link stuff below so you can follow anything for her. And I look forward to seeing you when you're down here in Miami. Maybe we'll meet up. All right.
That'll be fun. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thanks.